might defer the study on the need for cold storage to my colleague, but I can say with respect to cold storage at EDC, right now our focus is really on the redevelopment of the Hunts Point produce market. And so as you're probably aware, there are we really have a serious lack of refrigeration, and so there are 1,000 of these transport refrigeration units that are really idling on diesel, unfortunately, and are not great for our community members, like a challenge in an already environmental justice community. And so our priority right now is to really focus on the redevelopment of the produce market, where we will be building 2 new larger warehouse refrigerated facilities that will be able to really take those trailers offline. So that's where our focus is right now, and I would defer if Kate has anything to add on just broader cold storage.
I would say certainly that's right. Also, it's sort of it's a question that has to be asked sort of in the what is the use case, right? And I think we learned during the pandemic where we needed to store so much food to get it into people's homes. That was a specific use case, and it's sort of like we would never have that need, to be able to do anyone that needs food to get that to them. But what I can tell you is that where, for instance, in the emergency food space, we hear a need for cold storage or refrigeration, we work to make grants possible for what we call capacity building within the emergency food space. If we hear, I spoke earlier about Grow NYC, which is opening up a regional food hub that will have 7 different refrigerated units available in that. So the use case is to be able to have a 20 million pound a year food distribution flow. So that's thinking about that use case. And I think, it is just, it's clearly acknowledged that when we were, whether it was storing vaccines or storing meals, we acknowledged that we were challenged when it came to refrigerated space in the city. And as there's a lot in the testimony here about just the distributed network of our infrastructure in New York City, how we have assets like these big hubs of whether it be the Fresh Direct building that wasn't there years and years ago, it has the capacity for cold storage. And so just looking at, and my colleagues at NYC Emergency Management do have a catalog, probably more than a catalog, but an inventory of all of the different assets in the city that have cold storage capacity, so that if and when we needed to activate something, we would know who to call.
So could you, I guess I have several questions related to that. I'd love to understand, I continue to hear that there is a lack of cold storage facility in the city, and an enormous amount of produce, food product is getting transported still very far to only come back into the city on a daily basis on trucks. Mm-hmm. So we're hearing double routes of moving. So I guess, do we have a sense of how much storage we would just need for our basic daily consumption network, and how much we'd need to build out?
I think as it relates, again, to my colleagues speaking about the asset that is managed here around Hunts Point, they've scoped that out and are building to suit those needs. But I would be very interested to hear more about the stories that you're hearing about trucks coming in and coming out. I would very much like to learn from that.
So how large are the warehouses that are getting built to offline the 1,000 transport units?
Thank you, Councilmember. I do not know the answer to the question of how large they are. I know the size of the whole site will be 916,000 square feet, but we can follow up with you on the size of the warehouses.
Yeah, I mean, I represent Brooklyn Marine Terminal, and this question of obviously cold storage and lack of and emergency use, clearly, which is why we are so keen on protecting the marine terminal for its actual use, was the port that was being able to bring in when trucks didn't want to come into Brooklyn of COVID. So cold storage is critical, but having a workable port also is critical to the Blue Highway system, and not creating minimizing its footprint significantly is a huge problem for so many of us. But thank you, chairs. I have more questions, but I could go next round.
Councilmember Botter?
Thank you so much.